My name is Ellen Mills. I started off as a geologist, studied in Zurich, and then went over to work as an engineering geologist in tunneling for 2 years when I really noticed that hydrogeology was a topic that I didn't know enough about, and then applied to come for 1 year to the University of Neuchâtel 25 years ago. And here I'm still in Neuchâtel at present. We are in the Gorge de la Reuse, which is a beautiful valley in about 15 kilometers west of Neuchâtel, within the Jura Mountains. So the geology here in the Gorge de la Reuse is quite complicated, but roughly speaking, we are in the domain of the Jura Fold Belt. And here you have a nice profile of this first anticlinal with a synclinal and the next anticlinal here in the area of the Gorge de la Reuse, and with the Creux du Vent here on the top. Of course, in this limestone area, we are typically situated in a karstic aquifer region. This zone here are mainly situated in this Malm, so in the Jurassic, and here in the Dogger, that are separated by really an aquiclude that is the Argovian. A particularity here in the Gorge de la Reuse that is also related to the water supply is that already almost 100 or a bit more than 100 years ago, they had this ingenious idea of making horizontal galleries through this impermeable Argovian to go and capture the groundwater that was in the lower Dogger, to get it free flowing out and to be used for the water supply on the left abutment. And on the right abutment, there was another long gallery that was constructed all the way to the Malm within this big syncline. Since this was done already 150 years ago and is still the backbone of the water supply of the canton, it is something that is quite unique and spectacular. And therefore it is also a place we will always go for excursions. So I first came here as a student on excursions. Then during my time as a lecturer at the University of Neuchâtel, I came here myself with students. And now in the last 10 years, I also come here to give courses with people coming from all around the world. So I somehow slid into the area of applied hydrogeology in humanitarian contexts a bit more than a decade ago through coordinating one of these courses from the university called Water and Sanitation Engineering. And then I was recruited by the Swiss Humanitarian Aid Unit, where I've been active since. And I've been working as a hydrogeologist for the UNHCR, so that is the High Commissioner for Refugees, and working in many different contexts around the world, and particularly involved in groundwater exploration and exploitation. So it is really a kind of hydrogeology that was carried out or done in our areas here in Switzerland in the 60s and 70s and 80s. It's really going back to classical hydrogeology, but of course in contexts that are extremely fragile and where aspects such as energy are becoming extremely important. So one of the topics that we are looking into, and where we also give courses here in the Gorge de la Reuse, is, for instance, solar pumping, which has a lot of particularities that have to be considered. A last particularity about the Gorge de la Reuse, and it is also something that really links up to the work that I'm doing in humanitarian contexts, is for the first that the trigger to build an aqueduct taking the water all the way from the Gorge de la Reuse and conveying it by gravity to Neuchâtel on the one hand, but then using hydropower on the other hand to pump it up to La Chaux-de-Fonds, that was triggered by an epidemic that took place more than 150 years ago. Water will, in the future, become more and more precious. Probably the challenges that hydrogeologists will have to face will not become less. So perhaps one thing that has to be digged into again is now, after 2 decades of getting more and more into computer and IT within hydrogeology, which is extremely valuable, I believe it is also very important to keep the very close contact to nature and to field work. Hydrogeology is an absolutely fascinating domain. It is really unraveling the unseen. To understand processes that are taking place underground, which we cannot just see with our eyes, we need to use a lot of imagination and putting together many bits and pieces of information in order to understand what is going on. But then on the other hand, we have the agent water, which is extremely reliable. It will not lie, it will behave the way it behaves. So whenever there are things or situations where we as hydrogeologists, we don't understand what is going on, we know that it is because we haven't understood, and we know it's not because it's not possible what is happening.